America's Got Talent is full of weird auditions. From a chicken playing piano to a man letting judges pull swords out of his throat, I'll be going over every bizarre moment in America's Got Talent history. The stage look. When you think of America's Got Talent, you probably picture singers, dancers, maybe some magic tricks. But here's what nobody talks about. The animal acts on America's Got Talent aren't just cute tricks. They're psychological warfare that mess with both judges and audiences. And there's one chicken that proves this better than any other act. But before I show you how a chicken traumatized Simon Cowell, we need to understand what makes these animal performances so unsettling in the first place. See, back in season 12, there was this South Korean hen named Jokgu. Now, when I tell you this chicken played piano, you're probably thinking it was some random pecking that kind of sounded like music. Nope, this bird performed a full rendition of America the Beautiful on a miniature keyboard, and it was legitimately good.
No way.
The whole thing started when Jaku's owners placed her on this tiny stage setup. The chicken, and I can't believe I'm saying this, methodically tapped keys with her beak in a rhythmic pattern that actually aligned with the melody. We're talking precision here. This wasn't luck or coincidence. The owners had trained this bird using treats as rewards until she could hit the right notes at the right time. The staging was insane too. They had an American flag backdrop, patriotic lighting, the works. It looked like a legitimate concert, except the performer was a farm animal. Now here's where it gets interesting. The judges were initially skeptical because, you know, it's a chicken on a piano. But as the performance went on, they started losing their minds. Howie Mandel literally said, "This is clucking amazing," while Simon Cowell admitted it was one of the most bizarre things I've seen, but it works. The audience went crazy. People were cheering for a chicken like it was Beethoven himself. And here's the kicker. Jogu advanced to the next round. But here's what shows you how unpredictable animal acts really are. Despite that incredible audition, Jogu suffered from stage fright in later rounds.
Oh, this is painful.
Proving that animals can't handle the pressure like human performers. And that's just the beginning of how animals weaponize their weirdness. Because what I'm about to show you next makes a piano-playing chicken look normal. Picture this, season 16, and we've got Pam Martin walking onto the stage with her chihuahua Casper. They're about to perform a duet of Whitney Houston's I Have Nothing. Now you're thinking, okay, the lady sings and the dog just sits there being cute, right? Wrong. Casper didn't just sit there. This tiny dog howled emotively during the chorus, perfectly syncing with Pam's vocals. I'm not talking about random dog noises. This chihuahua was hitting notes.
When I was young, I never needed anyone, and making love was just for fun.
The performance started with Pam singing solo, building tension, and then at the key moment, Casper let out these high-pitched howls that actually harmonized with the song. The visual was incredible. Casper was perched on a stool with these wide eyes and his head tilted, looking like he was genuinely feeling the music. But here's what made it even weirder. Pam discovered this talent by accident when she was singing at home, and Casper started howling along. Sofia Vergara couldn't contain herself. She was like, "This is so cute and crazy. I love it." And Heidi Klum kept going on about the perfect timing. The act got 4 yeses and advanced from the audition round, though they were eventually eliminated before the live shows, proving that even the most viral animal acts have their limits. But wait, it gets worse. Season 20 brought us Goldie Hen, and no, this wasn't a real chicken this time. It was a performer in the most detailed chicken costume you've ever seen, complete with feathers, a beak, and these weird lingerie-like accents that made the whole thing feel like a fever dream.
What's going on?
Hi, my name's Goldie Hen. I'm a chicken. I grew up on a farm in a rural town in New England, and I always dreamed about being in the spotlight.
Goldie delivered a hula hoop routine while making clucking sounds and literally popping out golden eggs during the performance.
What's she doing?
She entered the stage clucking, started twirling multiple hula hoops around her body, then progressed to advanced moves like walking on her hands while keeping the hoops spinning. The climax was this comedic egg-laying segment where shiny props just started emerging from under the costume. The judges were in hysterics. Simon Cowell was laughing so hard he could barely speak, finally managing to say, "This is absolutely ridiculous and brilliant."
It was like one of those crazy nightmares you have when you drank tequila and you can't stop it. That's what it's like.
After what he described as a long day of auditions. And this is why this audition represents everything AGT has become. It's not enough to be talented anymore. You have to break people's brains. This exposes how America's Got Talent's animal acts create cognitive dissonance. Our brains can't process animals doing human activities, which creates that uncomfortable fascination. When we see a chicken playing piano or a dog singing Whitney Houston, we're forced to question what we think we know about intelligence, talent, and performance. But here's the problem with animal acts. They're completely unpredictable, which leads to the body horror performances that'll make you question humanity itself. Because while animals can surprise us with hidden talents, humans can traumatize us with what they're willing to do to their own bodies. Speaking of questioning humanity, wait until you see what people are willing to do to their own bodies for 15 minutes of fame. America's Got Talent contestants don't just perform, they turn their bodies into weapons of mass confusion. And there's one man who literally uses his stomach as a magic trick that defies every law of physics. But first, let me show you how two Japanese guys made their bellies into musical instruments, and somehow convinced America it was entertainment. Season 13 introduced us to Yumbo Dump, a Japanese duo who used their bellies, mouths, and random props to create what they called a symphony of sounds. But calling it music is like calling a car crash a dance routine. These guys were making sounds that mimicked water droplets, cork pops, dolphin calls, and UFO whirs, and they framed the whole thing as a love story between two dolphins.
Birth to a baby calf.
The routine started simple enough, slapping their exposed bellies to create bass tones. But then it escalated into this complex sequence involving cups for echoes, exaggerated facial expressions that looked like they were in physical pain, and synchronized movements that were supposed to be dance-like but looked more like seizures.
The sound of a fish splashing about on a boat.
What made it even more disturbing was their deadpan expressions. These guys were making the most grotesque sounds imaginable while maintaining completely serious faces, like they were performing at Carnegie Hall instead of traumatizing a television audience. The judges' reactions were perfect. One of the judges buzzed early and called it too weird, which is saying something on a show that regularly features people eating glass. But the audience was cheering, which created this weird split where half the theater was horrified and half was entertained. Simon Cowell summed it up perfectly. It's disgusting, but I can't stop watching. And that's the problem with these acts. They're like visual quicksand. The more you struggle to look away, the deeper you sink into the weirdness. Yumbo Dump advanced to the quarterfinals, proving that America will literally vote for anything if it's weird enough. But that was just the warm-up for what came next. If you think that's disturbing, wait until you see what Stevie Starr does with his internal organs. Stevie Starr, known as the professional regurgitator, walked onto the AGT stage in season 10 and proceeded to swallow numbered coins, a lock, a key, and a billiard ball. Then on command, he brought them back up in whatever order the judges requested. Yes.
Did you hear that? Let's
eat more money.
But here's where it gets insane. He locked Heidi Klum's ring inside his stomach, then unlocked it and returned it to her.
Okay, one lock. Would you kindly put the key in, please? One key. Oh.
The performance was methodical torture. Starr would swallow each object one by one, and you could see his throat moving as the items went down. Then he'd pause dramatically while the audience held their breath and somehow bring the objects back up cleanly, without any apparent harm to his body.
Fetch the nectar from the flowers to the cup, and hence, they find.
What?
No. Oh, the spoonful of sugar helps the medicine.
Heidi Klum was screaming in horror but couldn't look away. She kept yelling, "How is this even possible?" While Simon Cowell called it disgusting but mesmerizing. The man was literally using his digestive system as a magic trick, and it worked so well he finished 4th overall in the competition. This is where America's Got Talent crossed the line from talent show to medical mystery. We weren't watching a performance anymore. We were watching someone weaponize their internal organs for entertainment. But none of this prepares you for the next level of body horror that some contestants are willing to put themselves through. These acts work because they trigger our disgust reflex while simultaneously impressing us with impossible skills. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You can't look away even though every instinct tells you to. Your brain is trying to process how a human body can do these things while also being repulsed by what you're seeing. The genius of these performers is that they understand the psychology of disgust. They know that if they can make you uncomfortable enough, you'll remember them forever. And in a competition where thousands of people audition, being memorable is more valuable than being traditionally talented. But none of this prepares you for the psychological torture that comes next. Because what I'm about to show you isn't just weird, it's the kind of stuff that gives Simon Cowell nightmares. And trust me, after seeing thousands of auditions over the years, it takes a lot to shake that man. Some America's Got Talent auditions aren't performances. They're psychological experiments designed to break both judges and audiences, and there's one act that literally made Mel B run off stage crying. But the path to ultimate terror starts with something seemingly innocent. Enter Seth Ward, season 13. This guy showed up in a caterpillar costume and proceeded to roll awkwardly across the stage, making distressed grunting sounds. Then, in what can only be described as the most uncomfortable transformation sequence ever filmed,
What the bloody hell is that?
he started shedding layers to emerge as a butterfly. Now, this wasn't some graceful metamorphosis. Seth Ward was struggling, getting stuck mid-transformation, flapping around chaotically, and making sound effects that amplified the absurdity of the whole situation. The judges buzzed all 4 times while the audience was booing, and Simon Cowell summed up everyone's feelings with, "What on earth was that?" But here's where it gets interesting. Despite being rejected, Seth Ward kept coming back. Season 14, Season 16, Season 17, even AGT All-Stars. He became this persistent oddity that divided audiences but somehow kept getting invited back. This is psychological warfare disguised as performance art. Seth Ward understood that being memorable was more valuable than being good, and he was willing to humiliate himself repeatedly to stay in people's minds. But even that doesn't compare to what happened when performers started involving the judges directly in their acts. Brett Loudermilk took sword swallowing to the next level in season 15. Instead of just swallowing swords himself, he invited the judges to pull them out of his throat. This wasn't just a performance anymore, it was interactive danger.
Sophia, can I please use you?
The act built suspense slowly. Loudermilk would insert curved swords one by one, gagging audibly as they went down. Then he'd position judges like Sofia Vergara to extract them while cameras showed close-ups of his throat movements. Sophia was recoiling and yelling, "I can't do this, it's too scary," while Howie Mandel was praising the bravery. But what made this truly disturbing was how it flipped the traditional performer-audience relationship. Suddenly, the judges weren't just watching, they were complicit in whatever was happening on stage. The audience was on edge because they knew that if something went wrong, they'd be watching someone die on live television. That's not entertainment, that's psychological torture disguised as a magic trick. And then there was Wes P., this recurring comedian magician who showed up multiple times with increasingly ridiculous stunts. His signature move involved balancing wine glasses on his head while yanking tablecloths from under teacups that were covering his nude body. The act involved partial nudity hidden by props. Quick movements that risked exposure and deliberately targeting Mel B with his humor. Every time he performed, there was this tension of, is he going to accidentally expose himself on national television? Mel B would buzz repeatedly, shouting, "Not again," while the audience cheered for the risque humor. The whole thing was designed to make everyone uncomfortable while somehow being entertaining enough to keep advancing. These acts succeed by making everyone complicit in the weirdness. It's not enough to watch. You become part of the psychological experiment whether you want to or not. The performers understand that by involving the judges and audience directly, they're creating an experience that's impossible to forget. But what's really disturbing is how these auditions reveal something dark about human nature. We say we want traditional talent, but we keep voting for the acts that make us uncomfortable. We claim we don't like weird performances, but we can't stop watching them. Which brings us to the most disturbing audition in America's Got Talent history. What you're about to see is so unsettling that it inspired actual horror movies and made viewers question whether AGT had gone too far. Because there's a difference between weird entertainment and genuine psychological terror, and one performer completely erased that line. The sacred Rihanna didn't just perform magic, she created a horror movie in real time that broke every rule of what's acceptable on live television. Here's exactly how she traumatized an entire theater during her audition, and why this performance represents everything wrong with our obsession with viral content.
Okay, let me try again. Well, welcome to America's Got Talent anyway. Oh my God.
Season 13, Auditions. The sacred Rihanna walked onto the stage with eerie twitches and a creepy doll, immediately setting a tone that made everyone uncomfortable. But what happened next wasn't just a magic trick, it was a carefully orchestrated psychological attack on everyone in the building. She drew Mel B into what appeared to be a horror-themed mystery using newspapers, voodoo elements, and Polaroids to supposedly capture ghosts. The performance involved slow, menacing movements, whispered incantations that no one could understand, and interactive scares that specifically targeted the judges.
12 people died in a building blaze.
Suicide victim to blame. I say Bob. Suicide victim to blame.
Oh my God.
But the real terror came from her complete commitment to the character. The sacred Rihanna moved like someone who wasn't entirely in control of their own body. Her twitches seemed involuntary. Her stare was vacant yet intensely focused, and she spoke in whispers that made everyone lean forward to hear while simultaneously wanting to back away. The climax involved a jumping photo that appeared out of nowhere, causing genuine terror in the theater.
He is here.
Who's here? Oh my God! Bob is behind me!
Then, just as the tension reached its peak, the stage went completely black and a scream echoed through the building.
He's still here.
Oh no. It says I'm coming for you, Howie.
Mel B fled the stage crying, "Get away from me," while Simon Cowell called it brilliantly creepy. But here's what's really disturbing. The sacred Rihanna advanced from her audition and continued to the quarterfinals, where she performed a completely different illusion involving multiplying herself.
She doesn't like being rejected.
Her original audition performance was so memorable that it inspired actual horror films. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was trauma disguised as talent. The sacred Rihanna understood something that other performers missed. In our social media age, being scary is more viral than being skilled. She wasn't trying to impress the judges with traditional magic. She was trying to create a moment so unsettling that people would share it obsessively online. This performance proves that America's Got Talent isn't really about talent anymore. It's about pushing boundaries until something breaks. Traditional singers and dancers can't compete with the viral potential of genuine psychological terror. But here's what's really disturbing about all these auditions. They reveal something uncomfortable about human nature and our relationship with entertainment. We claim we want wholesome family shows, but we can't stop watching the acts that make us uncomfortable. These performers understand that in our attention economy, being memorable is more valuable than being good. They know that a disturbing performance will get more social media shares than a beautiful song, so they're willing to traumatize themselves and others for 15 minutes of viral fame. And the worst part? It works. And performers like the sacred Rihanna are happy to provide that service, no matter what it costs them or us psychologically. That's the real horror of these auditions. Not the acts themselves, but what they reveal about what we're willing to watch and share in our desperate search for content that cuts through the noise of modern media.